Hey everyone, this is my video, part one of doing a bathroom makeover. I'm showing right now how I did my cabinets. These cabinets were over 25 years old. The melamine was coming off, so it was very easy to just take it off. I didn't videotape that. I mean, it's just tearing it off. It was already coming off anyway. You give it a good sand though. You want to make sure that you're getting all the sticky stuff off, which there was not much on there. So you want to make sure you're getting it as smooth as possible. Dust it off to get rid of all the dust from the sanding. I used alcohol because there were some places that had just a tiny bit of sticky, and it wasn't a lot really. But I just wanted to use alcohol to make sure to get the sticky part off. I will use kilts to prime the cabinets just to make sure it has an even coat. It was pretty smooth. The only places that were really rough was the grooved areas, the incest areas. Other than that, the surface was pretty smooth anyway, but I went ahead and used kilts because, you know, it has a tooth and it will help the paint to adhere to it. I did use Behr cabinet enamel paint from Home Depot. Only one coat of kilts is needed, and then you do want to lightly sand it just to make sure that it's smooth. And I did have to use 2 coats of the Behr paint because one did not do, but there it is, the 1 coat, and then here is in the bathroom. Okay, so I just finished putting the cabinet back together. Excuse all the mess, it's still a work in progress. Don't know how I really feel about it, but at least it looks better than what it did, right? I mean, the parts of it that was coming off, so the wall is next. Hopefully with the wall color in that, it will pull it all together. It's a little darker than what I thought it was gonna be, but it's okay. I used the original knobs and just used spray paint and spray painted them this rubbed oil bronze. I think it looks pretty okay. So yeah, there we go. So far, that's the cabinet. It only took 2 days. It's not too bad. And that's just drying time, really. Altogether, it probably took 3.5, maybe 4 hours to do it. Maybe not even that long. First day probably took 2 hours. And then yesterday, it took 30 minutes. So 2.5, 3 hours. So yeah. Now I want to show me macrameing my hanging basket thing. So I needed 3 1-yard cords. I needed 16 of those. Yes, 16 of them. It's 3 foot that my table measures, so I just use it easy to measure out the 3 foot that I need 3 times. You double it up like that, and now this is called a lark knot, just to get it onto the ring to make. Now I will say I did not film the most difficult part of this, and I apologize. But once you get the 8 knots on, what you're going to do is separate them into four cords. So that you have 4 strings. But first you do need to do a wrap knot to gather them up. And this is how you do that. It's not very difficult. You can wrap it ever how many times you want. I think I went around 3 times only because this was a 1 foot long cord. I probably would have done 1.5, but it did 3 knots, which is fine. I usually like to do more than 3 wraps, but it worked out. Sorry about the out of focus, but you just push it in and pull them together, and it secures it very well. And then of course you just cut what's hanging out just to make it more pleasing to the eye. And this is the back side, so I'll flip it around. So once you do that, you do separate it into four cords 4 times, because you want it to have 4 sides to the hanging. What is this called? A hanging basket. So once you do that, and what I do is what I have this on, which is a clothes rack, I just, as you see, swoop them over to get them out of the way so that I can concentrate on one at a time. It kind of looks like an octopus ready to fight you. But you make 12 half knots, and these will end up spiraling. It's really, really pretty. So I did 6 of these on each cord, and half knots are very easy. It's like an L shape is what I always think of to know how to do half knots. You do that on all 4 cords, and then once you get finished with that and have it on all 4 of your sets of cords, then I measured it to see how long it was, and then I took that measurement, and from the bottom of those 6, I measured that much. I believe it was like 3 inches, and then I did 2 square knots after that. So square knots is you do a half knot first, and I always like to make sure that I'm going in the same direction, so that's why I twisted it. But you do a square knot, and then you kind of do the opposite on the other side, and that gives you, a half knot, and then you have your square knot. So again, you make your half knot, that's what we're doing, an L shape, and then you do a backwards L on the other side to give you the other half of your square knot. So that's the difference between a half knot and a square knot. So you do 2 of those, and I do that again on all 4. A trick that I do to make sure that they're all the same length down instead of having to measure each time is I take the one cord and I'm measuring it to make sure it lines up with that one knot that I just did. And then you know that you are pretty much on par with being the same measurement down. Now what I want to do is I'm taking and moving the middles to the outside, because if you don't, you're going to be short on the sides of your cords. And plus I love the way this looks. I think it looks really cool. And then I ended up doing 6 more half knots this way, after making sure that my ends were on the outside. And then I do it on all the others. And now what I want to do is go again. I'm doing the same pattern where I take the insides and bring them out, and I do 2 more square knots. Now this is it as far as the pattern, and now you will connect them to make the basket part. And unfortunately, that's the part that I did not film. I don't know why it was not filmed, but it was not, so I apologize. And that is the most difficult part of doing a basket, is connecting them together. So I apologize, but I do end up getting them together, and you will see that in a minute. So I put the pot in. I have used tape to see where I need to do another wrap knot at the bottom. And I make sure that I'm all even after I take the tape off. And then again, you just do another wrap knot. Or you could, if you had enough length of your cords, you could just tie them all together. But I did not, so I just used a wrap knot with it. Again, it was 1 inch long. And here I'm just making sure that all of my knots are even, because it will affect the way your pot sits if they're not even. So you want to make sure that they are even. So that's why I am adjusting a couple of them, which is easy to do in macrame. It's easy to take them out and redo them again if you need to. But that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just making sure that I'm all even before I do the wrap knot to tie it all together. So again, the wrap knot is pretty simple. And again, I went just 2 times around because it was just a foot long cord. And here you can see a little bit better how you just put it down in that little loop and then you pull at the same time, and it really secures it nicely. And then the pot goes right in, and there you go. You got a hanging basket. I feel like I didn't explain this very well, and I apologize for that. But you know, you can just watch it over again if you want to see exactly what I did. And then I just trim it. And I did, after we hung it in the bathroom, I trimmed it again, the ends, to make sure they were all even. So that was it for the basket. Isn't it pretty? And now we're going to move on to the butterfly. This is supposed to go outside, and you're supposed to put pots in it. But I have used it in my bathroom to be a towel holder. So what I did is I primed it with a spray paint, a gray spray paint, to make sure that it was good and covered. And then here is my inspiration of the colors kind of that I wanted to use with the butterfly, the holes of the butterfly. I had an idea of how I was going to accomplish this, and it ended up working out. So I was really happy about that. So we'll see that in a minute. But I use outdoor paint, even though this is going to be inside. I went ahead and used the outdoor paint, only, you know, because it is a bathroom and the steam and stuff like that. I didn't know if regular craft acrylic paint would hold up, but I knew that the outdoor paint would. So I'm just using black to paint the butterfly, and then I started using just the green that I had, but it was too bright. I really didn't, that was not my vision for this. So I added a little bit of the black in with it just to mute it a little bit more. And I liked that color. Now I do have to do this quite a few times, and I really didn't worry if I got this exact color throughout the whole thing, because I knew I was going to dry brush it anyway. And plus, you know, my vision was, this is like a vine with leaves, right? And so in nature, it's not all one color. So I was going to be okay if it didn't turn out to be all the same color, but it did anyway. So it was no big deal. Now what I'm doing is I'm tracing the butterfly in the holes because I'm going to end up using acetate to paint the bright colors to fill in the holes. So I needed a template to know where those holes were to do it properly. So I went ahead and I traced the butterfly, just picking it up so that I could see the light through it and to know where the holes were, because that was my main concern of where I needed to go. So I use, again, acetate because I have some. And with that, I just tape it to make sure that the acetate doesn't move off of the template. And I try a couple of things. I try my alcohol markers, my Copic markers first, and then I do use the outdoor paint again to see which one that I really wanted to use. In my head, it was going to be alcohol markers because I wanted it to be like a stained glass look. That was what I was envisioning, but it just would not layer well on this acetate, the acetone markers. They just look bad. So I just went ahead and went with the paint. And I don't know why the lighting went crazy on here. I apologize for that. I'm not sure what happened there, but I do use paint to just paint in all these different holes that the butterfly has. And I really like it. I think that it turned out really pretty. I use Fabri-Tac to tack down the acetate onto the butterfly. I make sure wherever there is the metal of the butterfly, I put the glue down to make sure that it sticks really well. I did cut it up just to get it on there evenly. And now I'm dry brushing the leaves. I used just lighter greens, and then I used some that has some yellow in it just to get different tones of the greens on here to make it look like vines and leaves. That was my whole goal. I really love the way that this ended up. You will see later in part 2 what it looks like in the bathroom. I have not finished that yet. I still need to do some touch-up painting, which I'm planning on doing this week. And then I'll hang everything up, everything that I have bought for the bathroom, and a grand reveal will be done in the next video. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate y'all so much, and I will talk to you later. Bye.